Good morning, students. This is a short demonstration about how to self-edit your W4 essay. So you should first have your W4 self-editing form up, and you should also have your essay available. So I'll be going back and forth between the essay and the self-editing form. So let's look at the first thing on the self-editing form. The first thing is the format, and the directions are to highlight each subtitle in yellow, starting with the introduction, background, definitions, verdicts, free will determinism, and works cited. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate first. So here's the highlighting for that: introduction, background, definitions, the verdicts, free will and determinism, and works cited, and she has an error. She needs to add an S to the work, so she can just do that. This student can just do that. Okay, so that's the first thing. All right, let's go back to the self-editing form and look at Roman numeral 2, which is right here. It's the thesis. So you're going to highlight the concession in turquoise, the rationale in green, the thesis claim in yellow, and then you'll bold and enlarge the semicolons or commas to 14 font. So turquoise, green, and yellow. So let's go back to your essay and go back up to the thesis. Okay, so the concession is going to be in turquoise. So the concession is all the way to however. And the rationale is going to be in green. The rationale begins right here and goes all the way to choice. I'm going to make it green. And then the claim is in yellow. Okay, and then we're going to take a close look at the punctuation. We want to make this large. I'm going to go ahead and make it 16 font so I can easily see it. And this one, and here we have a mistake that needs to be corrected. So you want to make sure that your punctuation is correct, because this is the end of a sentence, and so this should be a semicolon, and there should be a comma after therefore. So I'm going to, which is what you should do, insert a comment to say what needs to be changed. So she's going to remove the comma before choice and replace it with a semicolon. And place a comma after therefore. That's what she has to do to fix it. Okay, so let's go on to the next part, which is the background. And even though these, I said before that you could rearrange the paragraph if you want to make the testimony first, but if you rearrange the paragraphs, then you need to change what the comment says. So first we're going to select the first indented word in paragraph 1 and insert a comment. Let's look at paragraph 1 for her background. Her background is not the plot. Her background is the testimony. So we're going to highlight this first word, and then we're going to insert, go here to insert, and then over here to comment, and she's going to put paragraph 1, number 1. And it's not the background. This is Oedipus's testimony. Now, most of you put the background first. So just put type whatever you put first. Okay, we're going to scroll down to the next paragraph. We're going to highlight the first word, put a comment. Now, this is the plot. So we're going to put background number 2. Let me make sure I said that. I just said paragraph number 2. So paragraph number 2, and this is the plot. This is her plot paragraph. Okay, now we're going to scroll down to the next paragraph, and we're going to highlight the first sentence, and go to comment. And this sentence is Jocasta's backstory. So we're going to do paragraph number 3. Remember, you had to have 4 paragraphs in your background section, and this is Jocasta's backstory. I don't care how you arrange them as long as they make sense. Okay, and then the last one is paragraph number 4. Highlight the first word, go to comments, and type in paragraph number 4. And this is Oedipus's backstory. Okay, so now let's return to your self-editing form, and you'll notice that it tells you to the last thing you want to do. See, there's A, it was plot, but we changed it because it was testimony. You've got to have a paragraph or plot, Jocasta's backstory, Oedipus's testimony, and Oedipus's backstory. So we want to also highlight the block quotation, and so we've got to go back in and do that before we're done with the background. So let's make it large, and let's go up because she has her testimony first. And you want to notice that the entire thing is indented and there are no quotation marks. That's very important. So she's going to highlight the whole thing and insert a comment, and this is block quotation. With Oedipus's testimony. Okay, so now we're ready to look at the next section, which is the definitions. So for the definitions, it says highlight the first paragraph. This is the definition section, and you should have 4 paragraphs, one with the Athenian court description, one with the guilty or not guilty verdict. You need one for the guilty, one for the not guilty, and then you need a paragraph for free will and determinism. So let's go back in and look at her essay and label it. So we get down to definitions. We're scrolling down to definitions, and here's the first paragraph, and you can see that she's talking about the Athenian court system. You see that right there. So we're going to highlight the first word, go to comments, and we're going to put paragraph 1, Athenian court system. That's what you're supposed to be discussing in this first paragraph. Okay, and then now we're to the verdicts, and we're going to put, this is her verdict. So we want to comment, and it looks as though this is going to be the not guilty verdict. So it's down there. So we're going to put a comment. Okay, paragraph 2. Guilty verdict. Let me make sure it's guilty. No, not guilty, sorry. It's not guilty verdict. We're just labeling right now, and now we're going to go down to the next one. So I'm going to highlight this, put a comment in, and this is obviously the guilty verdict. All right, and we scroll down, and this is the free will and determinism. It's just, you can put it in one paragraph. If it goes really long, then you can do 2, but you only really have to have 1. So this is paragraph number 4. Free will and determinism. These are your free will and determinism definitions. So the first thing you want to do is just recognize that you have everything you're supposed to have. Okay, now let's go back to your self-editing form. And this is the most important section. And I did change it a little bit because Wednesday, I gave you a PowerPoint on the 4 steps to do the quotations. And I'm just going to pull that up for a minute so we can take a look at it. And I gave you an example paragraph. You have to do the context first, lead in, quote from the source, and then paraphrase. And I sent this to you so you could see each part. The context, which I have in here. I'm not going to read it now. The context, the lead in, the quote, and the paraphrase. Okay, so let's put that down here. And you can review that. But let's look at how I've changed the self-editing form just a little bit. For the quotations, it actually has 4 parts. That's going to be a change when I send it to you. It has 4 parts. And the first part is the context, which I talked to you about earlier. And so you're going to underline your context, and then you're going to insert a comment that says context. Then you're going to have the definition. Let's do that first so we don't get going too much. Okay, so let's scroll back up to her definitions. So we've already labeled this first section Athenian. We're not looking in this section because it doesn't have verdicts. So now we're here, and this student actually did context. She did a whole paragraph of context, which you don't have to do, because actually her actual verdict, she starts discussing her verdict there. So all of this is really context. She gives me the credentials, and then she talks about what's happening in that paragraph. So this whole thing, you don't have to do all of this for context, but this whole thing is actually context. And so your directions are to underline the context. So she's going to need to underline that. And then the other direction is to label it context. So you go insert, comment, and then this is context for verdict number 1. It just so happened that she did that on her own. So that's what that is. Okay, so now we're going to the actual verdict. Let's go back to the self-editing form. So she's underlined her context and she inserted a comment. Now we're to the definition. You're going to highlight the definition and insert a comment with the verdict for this paragraph. Okay, so let's go back into her. Okay, so we're looking for the definition, and she's defining not guilty. So we're looking for a quote. And so the quote is right here. Here's the quote. So we're going to highlight the quote, and then we're going to insert, let me go back in here. Let me go back and see what color I said to highlight it, if I said to highlight it. Okay, so we're going to, lead in needs to be in red, the author's name and credentials. Okay, so let's go back. Lead in red, I'm going to leave that up. So let's do the lead in red. She's already done the credentials, so this is the lead in. And you're going to see there's a little bit of a problem with the lead in here because, so the lead in is in red. Okay, and then we're going to do the quotation is in green. The exact words. Here's the quotation. So I'm going to put the quotation in green, and then the parenthetical note is in yellow. So we're going to do that. Okay, so then it says, you insert a comment to indicate if the quote is a complete sentence or incomplete sentence. And if it is an incomplete sentence, you'll need to revise it. And we can see that it's an incomplete sentence. So she's going to put a comment in, insert, comment, and it's an incomplete sentence. It needs to be revised and use a complete sentence. That's what you'll have to do on her final draft. Change that. Okay, so she's going to need to get a complete sentence. And then let's look at the parenthetical note. So if the source has page numbers, and it does have page numbers, you highlight it in yellow. But she doesn't have a page number. So, and she has put Griffith there. She doesn't need Griffith because she has Griffith here. So we're going to cross out Griffith. And we're going to insert a comment to add a page number. Insert, comment, add a page number. All of your scholarly essays have page numbers, so you'll always have to have a page number there. Okay, so that's that. So let's see what's next. Then it says highlight the paraphrase of the quotation in turquoise. Read the quote aloud to yourself, then read the paraphrase to see if it's accurate. Insert a comment that says one of the following: accurate paraphrase, no revision necessary; inaccurate paraphrase, revision necessary. So let's go through that process now. Okay, so the quote is mitigating circumstance in case of intentional homicide rather than grounds for lawful homicide. Well, we already know it's an incomplete sentence, so that's going to be a problem. So she says, well, excuse me, first, let's do this. I forgot to do this. Let's do this in turquoise. So first, oops, wrong place. First, you need to highlight the paraphrase in turquoise. Let's go back and just confirm that. Highlight the paraphrase in turquoise. Read the quote aloud to yourself. Then read the paraphrase to see if it's accurate. Insert a comment, either no revision or revision. And on Wednesday, I showed you how you had to paraphrase, which you have that file in PowerPoint. Okay, so here's the quote. Mitigating circumstance in case of intentional homicide rather than grounds for lawful homicide. And here's her paraphrase. Griffith means to say that self-defense can only be claimed if the murderer had a certain threat to their life caused by the victim. None of that is in the quote. So this quote, this paraphrase is completely off topic, and she needs to start all over again. First of all, by making it a complete sentence, but then by paraphrasing what's there. And in paraphrasing, she would have to define these things here. That would have to be defined, and also lawful homicide would need to be defined. Okay, so we're going to put in here inaccurate paraphrase. Revise. Okay, so, and remember that this section is the most important section. And notice I have added context. So make sure it doesn't have to be this long. So you need context. You need 4 things. Context, quote, a lead-in. Okay, so there's your lead-in. I don't think we labeled lead-in. Let me go back and see if we were supposed to label the lead-in. Yep, we're supposed to insert a comment. So let me go back and do that. I didn't do that. So let's go back and insert a comment here that says lead-in, but it's not a complete sentence. It should be a complete sentence. And so this is the lead-in. And it's not incomplete sentence. It needs to be revised. So the lead-in is not correct. So 4 things should be labeled. Context, lead-in, and this is the quote. Let me put quote here. Incomplete. Quote is incomplete, so we know that's the quote. So context, lead-in, quote, and paraphrase. So those are the 4 things you need to note. Now her context is up here and it's long. Your context doesn't need to be more than a sentence. She just happened to have a long context, which is fine. Okay, context, lead-in, quote, and then paraphrase. Those are the 4 things that you need for your quotes. You're going to need to do it for the one down here as well. And I didn't do this one, but you can do it on your essay. I didn't do it, but you're going to need to do the same thing here and then down here as well. So you'll repeat this 4 times in the definition section. Keep in mind that the definition section is the most important section of your essay. That's where the most points are. And the points are going to be on quoting. So quoting is very important. Now for free will and determinism, you do not have to have context. For free will and determinism, all you need is, let me show you that on your, okay, so verdict number 1 and verdict number 2 are the same. But for free will and determinism, all you need is a lead-in, a quote, and a paraphrase. You do not need context for free will and determinism quotes. So once you're done with that, then you're going to need to, after you're finished highlighting and quoting, then you're going to need to go back to your self-editing form on page 6, and you've got to type the answers to these things. Do you have a context for the not guilty verdict? Do you have a lead-in sentence? And if you didn't know, you can say incomplete sentence on hers. Okay, so was this a complete sentence? No. Incomplete sentence. And was the paraphrase accurate? No. inaccurate paraphrase. So then when you look back, you know what you need to work on. So you have a little chart that tells you, oh, I've got to fix this verdict because of that. Notice that free will and determinism do not have context. You don't need that for them. Okay, so let's go down to the last part, the works cited. And here you just are checking to make sure you have citations for everything. If you have a hook, and let me go back up and see if this one has a hook. Oops, it's not the essay. Well, we'll go back and look at the essay to see if it has a hook. If the essay has a hook, then it should, okay, she does. She has something from a source. So we should see down here in her works cited, we should see cherry. Yep, it's there. Very good. Okay, so we know that she's done that. So for her, she would put, for the hook, she would put cherry, and then she finished telling me I didn't get it all, but whoever, blah, 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 blah. And then she would put yes. She has the hook in there. And then everybody has to have this. And if it's there, you put yes. But if it's missing, for the Athenian law court, if it's there, everything that's there, you need a verdict, Griffith or Harris, Summerstein or Gagarin. And then you've got to tell me if you use Kane. Just put Kane, Robert, and the title of his text. And for determinism, the same thing. Yes or no. Okay, and then the last thing, probably the most important thing, is to proofread. If you have had a problem with run-on sentences, I'm going to suggest that you run your essay by the Virtual Writing Center. I'm going to send you a link again for that, and I'm going to send you a link for another center that you can use that's open 24/7. And so then finally, this is very important. Once you've done your final draft, do not have any uploading, any highlighting, no comments, no bubbles. The final draft has to be clean. Nothing at all on it, just your typing. That's it. So this is how you're going to do your self-editing form. You're going to complete this. You're going to, please make sure you put your name there and the date. You're going to upload this form. And you're also going to upload your self-edited draft with all of your markings on it. So you're going to upload two things. You're going to upload this, and you're going to upload this. And you'll upload them to the same place. Let me see if I can pull that up, if I have that available. Don't think so. Okay, I don't have it available, but wait. Okay, this is it. I will go in here and show you where it is so you can know where you need to upload it. Okay, so it's going to be under drafting, revising. And it's right here, self-editing forms. So you click on here. It says the deadline to upload it is Friday, April 17th, midnight. Upload for the Monday, Wednesday classes. I'm looking at you, but for the Tuesday, Thursday classes, it's Saturday, April 18th at midnight. You're going to upload two files. You're going to upload the two files that I just showed you, this one and this one. You're uploading two files, and it's under drafting, revising. I'll move it up to the top. It'll be at the top. Click on it, and I'll also send you the link. So that's what you need to do in order to complete the self-editing. I hope that helps. Have a good day.